The blue nail gun is a weapon that has struggled to find an identity because of its long use time and somewhat simple combat loop, leaving players with more to be desired. In this video, I hope to show you why this weapon has a place in the arsenal, and its core identity is largely misunderstood. Keep in mind this entire video is from the perspective of somebody who only plays Cybergrind and not other modes. So these three things are what people would usually say when telling you that blue nail is bad. I'm going to break each one down, and by the end of this, you should be convinced that blue nail is a good weapon. And if you're not convinced, you'll at least say it's not a bad weapon. The first thing that you would think to compare the nail gun to when you first get it is its next variant, the overheat, because it's pretty much just this, where you spray nails, except you do it faster and in a bigger spread. And what ends up happening for a lot of people is they see that bigger spread and they see overheat storage where you can repeatedly shoot this without it going off cooldown. And then they say, why even use the blue nail gun? Because it doesn't do as much damage. But this is where I feel like a lot of people get it wrong, and that just because the blue nail gun and the green nail gun are both those machine guns, they don't have the same use cases. I think that this bursting, enemy melting property that we love machine guns for is best exemplified in the overheat, and it deserves its throne. But the blue nail taps into the feeling of blasting away at your enemy while being something that's more of a passive/precision role in your arsenal. Now you're probably wondering, what the fuck do I mean by passive/precision role? And that's probably because I just made it up. There are two things I mean by precision role when talking about the blue nail gun. The first one is the blue nail gun's accuracy at long range. I can easily hit enemies accurately from long range with the blue nail gun, whereas with the green nail gun it has terrible accuracy at long range. The second part of precision is the blue nail gun's magnets, which not only allow you to focus your overheat shots so that they deal more damage from afar, but also allows for precise placement of makeshift saw traps with oversaw and chainsaw, like this one. The oversaw will orbit around the enemy, killing everything around it until the enemy dies, and then it will become part of a saw trap from the nearest magnet. There's plenty of tech you can do with the magnets, such as catapulting enemies by filling them full of nails and getting them to fling into the ground. This can notably be used to one-shot guttermen by baiting them off a ledge, giving you a free red explosion effectively guided by your magnet. What do I mean by passive? Well, the blue nail gun is really easy to use since you're literally just holding left click, so that means it doesn't require much brain power. So, following that logic, you can very easily focus on things like parries and getting those juicy guard breaks while you're in Cybergrind, dealing a lot of friendly fire damage while also accumulating style and adding up nails for a better conductor. It's extremely important in Cybergrind to be positioned well and not get hit too much to not lose your style. So it's very nice to have a weapon that you don't have to focus on doing complicated tech, and you can just spray it, and spray it from afar. Okay, to be honest, I agree with this one. I don't think blue nail healing is very good at all, and honestly, overheat healing is not that good either. But, like burst damage, I don't think that the Blue Nail's use case is healing. Blue Nail is good even from afar, where you won't be healing much at all. This also ties into the previous point, where you can very easily collect HP with parries while you're mindlessly spraying nails in the direction of an enemy. There's not too much else to say, except don't try to heal with them. Now, this argument is one I actually believed not long before the idea to make this video. I really didn't see any valid reason to run Blue Nail over the Blue Saw Blade, when saws share many of the major benefits of the Blue Nail gun, like having the same magnets, a very simple attack pattern, and also dealing much more damage if they're in a saw trap because of the pierce, and pretty much multiple enemy hitting factor. That was enough to convince me that I was just going to use Blue Saw because it seemed easy and strong at first. However, similar to Overheat, they do in fact have slightly different use cases, and it especially has to do with how weapons interact with the magnets. Saw traps are a very reliable way to deal damage to multiple enemies at once, but once you get into tight spaces, they start to fall apart, leading to disappointing damage output on an increasing group of enemies chasing you down. The nail gun solves this problem by having a very densely packed trap of nails that explodes on contact, and everything that runs through it will gain more conductor damage and take a little bit of damage. So this is where I actually started to convince myself that Blue Nail gun is good. I like to change my loadout a lot, so I'm familiar with all the weapons and made it my mission to try the loadouts and weapons that people say are bad or weak, and then use them to beat my own personal best. At one point I had been on a pretty rough streak in Cybergrind of not getting anywhere, and I had been swapping loadouts a bunch, trying to find something more fun to use to get past the tilt and keep going for another new best. This is when I remembered something a friend had told me before about a loadout with Blue Nail gun, being this loadout right here. So this is what they said about it. And keep in mind, this is one of the most knowledgeable people in the Ultra Kill community about the weapons specifically. So I don't know, take that as you will. But yeah, it was funny to read this, and I desperately wanted to try it after I saw it. And I agreed with them at the time, because when I went to try the loadout, I didn't really get anywhere at all. Eventually I did end up climbing out of that pit and getting near my personal best again with weapons that were generally considered to be more meta. But at a certain point, and all Cybergrind players understand this, you go right back into the skill pit and you can't get anywhere near your personal best anymore. So I went back to the Blue Nail loadout and tried again. For some reason, that day I used Blue Nail way differently than I usually did. I used it like it was a passive healing machine, similar to Saw's, but allowing for a big payoff with the devastating conductor chain. I would collect style while rocket riding and blasting around the stage, then finish them off with a jumpstart, attach, and chainsaw for the proc. Within 5 runs, I got wave 190, my new best, as well as placing 13th in the world for the global brutal Cybergrind leaderboard. I had to make this video after that. Once again, I believe that Blue Nail gun is entirely misunderstood as a weapon. It's not a burst damage, it's not a burst heal, it's a passive weapon that you use when you're trying to focus on things like parries and getting guard breaks within Cybergrind. Just remember that not all weapons are about having the highest damage output, and that all the weapons in Ultra Kill work in tandem with each other. Thank you for watching.